Hello, I'm Jason Ball, News Director at KTLA 5 News in Los Angeles, and this is the News Director's Office. I am in the office, and I am joined by producer Bobby, as always. How are you today, Bobby?
Hi, I'm good.
Good.
Doing
This
a
is
little
the first.
different today.
Yeah, we're doing a little different today. We're doing a little video recording. Now you can see us on YouTube, too, so that's cool. We are joined by our friends and colleagues, Jackie Rodriguez and Vanessa Martinez.
Hi, I'm so excited to be part of the News Director's Office. I've listened to these podcasts. I never thought I'd be a guest, but thank you for having us on. All of your Latinx folks, we're representing.
Yeah.
Yes, same. I have listened to every single episode. I have the music playing in my head right now. And yeah, definitely interesting being in the news director's virtual office.
Virtual office. Sometimes when you're in the actual office, sometimes I've seen people go in there and you don't want to be part of it. But most of the time, it's cool.
You guys have never been in trouble.
Yeah, no.
No, not at all. All right, so we're here because Jackie and Vanessa and I are doing a new podcast. We love the podcast world. We love the medium. It's a nice spread on, but we're doing one about the TV show Friends. It's called Friends with Friends, and we're exploring all 236 episodes of the TV show Friends. And that's quite an undertaking, wouldn't you say?
Yes, it's such a long series, but it's such an iconic series. So I just loved the idea. And I've been a Friends fan forever. Everybody knows it. So it was kind of crazy that this kind of fell into our laps. And then the timing of everything is just so cool to me.
How was it when you got asked to do it? Did you like flip out? Did you freak out? Because we all know that you're like a huge Friends super fan.
Yeah, when I get like stunned, I just kind of sit there and my eyes just go wide. When he did it, I just stayed quiet because I just go into my head, And then luckily me and Vanessa have been friends for years. We met here, we've become good friends. I've been to her wedding. I know her dog and her husband, everything. So we were coincidentally texting about Friends like about a month or so, would you say, Vanessa, before this? Because everybody knows I like it. So
yeah.
She started watching in quarantine. So
yeah, and I started watching it. And then I remember Jackie just calls me or texts me. And the way Jackie gets when she's excited, it's like on another level. Like, I don't think I could ever get to that level. I feel like I'm more composed in a way. And so when she was calling me, she was like, I'm so excited, But I mean, yeah, I thought it was exciting. And at first I was like, oh, well, maybe this is just, something that is brewing, like who knows like when it will happen or if it will happen, but it took off pretty quickly after that.
Yes, and I like that it's all different perspectives. Jason lived it. I'm the big Friends fan and Vanessa's the newbie. So I think that's cool because it's such an iconic show that has all these different perspectives. I've met like 13-year-olds, we've had, Naftali Arden, the 13-year-old that went viral with his, Friends bar mitzvah on it. So it's such a show that needs to be discussed because it's so universal in so many ages.
So it came about in a kind of a weird evolution. So we, the weekend morning team wanted to do something with their viewers during the early days of the quarantine, and they wanted to do a live chat and watch a movie with their viewers. So I'm like, well, I thought it was a great idea. So I was like, well, let's see. We don't really have any rights, any movies that we could air on KTLA and watch along with it. It would be weird if you're like some people were watching on Netflix. It wouldn't all start at the same time. So I was talking to our programming director about it. She goes, well, what about doing a Friends marathon and having the anchors watch along with viewers and comment and have a conversation during the Friends marathon? I thought that's a great idea because we are friends every night. It's one of the things that KTLA is known for. So we did that. And then interestingly enough, my husband said, why don't you do a podcast about every one of the episodes?
It was Troy's idea.
Yeah.
Oh,
So I was like,
a big hug.
that's a great idea. So then I was like, okay, who's going to do this? Who's going to do this? So I talked to producer Grace, who Jackie and Vanessa work with in the entertainment department. And she goes, I'm like, as soon as she said, I knew exactly. She's like, Jackie is a huge fan. So I'm like, well, that's a good place to start. So I talked to Jackie. And then she related to me the story about Vanessa and how Vanessa had just started watching it in quarantine. I'm like, this is brilliant because Jackie's, the super fan. Vanessa's discovering it all new now. And then I remember when it all came out, so I can kind of give that perspective on being 20 something in the 90s. So it all worked out.
It all worked out. And it's just crazy because like last year was the 25th anniversary of the show. And so I went to so many different things for this, like all the pop-ups. I went to Vegas, on a private jet with Warner Brothers through the media invite, and hung out with like Gunther and David Crane. And this was all before the podcast idea, and then I went to the Friendsgiving in November on Warner Brothers. It's just like, it's crazy that like I did all of that. And then this kind of is just like the cherry on top. I just love this show. It's part of me, I feel like. And it's just crazy how it all came together. It's all timing.
I agree with Jackie. Like, I feel like Jackie mentioned we were already texting a lot before this. When I was watching the show, I would text her different scenes that I was watching or send her pictures like, oh, look, I'm on this one now, this episode now, or does this really happen? Like, tell me more. Like, what does this mean? And she'd kind of explain it to me. So it's kind of working out now in this podcast.
So Vanessa, for you, like, as somebody who's never seen the show, and the show has been off the air for like how long now?
It's 2004.
So that's a long time. Is it weird to watch it? Do you do you kind of already know things just based on like the pop culture of it and the fact that everyone else has already seen it and talks about it for years and years and years? Or is it still pretty fresh for you?
So I will say that before starting the podcast, I knew less about it and less about what things meant and kind of how it ends. But since starting the podcast, I have found out more because of social media and doing my research and stuff like that to prepare for the episodes. So I'm trying not to look ahead at any clips that get posted by other social media platforms, or even like when we have different guests on and they talk about different episodes that they like. I try not to, I think about it and then I just try to forget it.
Yeah, you don't do spoiler alerts.
Yeah.
But for me, it's interesting because I was not a diehard Friends viewer. I watched it casually the early seasons, and then when I came to KTLA, I would watch it occasionally after the late news. So I've seen some of the episodes, but not really in order. I've seen probably a majority of the episodes, but I haven't really seen it as a binge experience. So this has been really fun to watch the character development, and we're in the middle of season 2 now, so it's interesting just to see how it all. But to me, the actual most joy I get from it is the joy that the two of you get from it as millennials. That it still relates to you in that aspect. And then there's a certain nostalgia aspect of it too. The fashion and the fact that there's an episode where you're like, oh my gosh, that's the first cell phone in the episode. And then the one about where Chandler gets a new computer, the one with the list where Chandler gets a new computer, and Bobby, it has 12 megabytes of memory in it.
Oh, that's basically what my laptop here has.
Your phone has more memory than that now.
I spent the last
32 gig.
I spent the last 45 minutes before we started recording just deleting a bunch of stuff to make sure there was enough space to run the stream that we're doing right now.
Right. So it is funny to watch. And then the fashion, of course. The fashion is funny. And I was noticing this, the men's clothes are all too big.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. It's like a staple of the 90s. You never wear anything that fits.
Yeah, it's
the suits are awful. So I'm not really a Friends viewer or whatever.
Blasphemy.
But what?
Blasphemy. I said blasphemy.
But I do know that they have a lot of big guest stars and guest appearances and day player type people. Is it funny to watch that show and see familiar faces that aren't part of the main cast, but be like, oh crap, that's so-and-so, they're in this show now or whatever? What's that all like?
Yeah, I think for me, a lot of it is just kind of I know Julia Roberts, I know George Clooney, I know all these people, Hank Azaria, but then it's oh wow, that's how they look like when they were younger. Were they even really big back then? So that's what I'm learning to find out.
Yes, and then Jason knows all of these film actors or TV actors from like before me and Vanessa were
He knows all
born.
the people we don't know.
Yes, that's what I was trying to say. I was like, so I know all the current ones, but then it's like, oh, this is from this series and this series. So I was like, oh, okay, I didn't know that. So it's nice that like me and Vanessa will know the current, and then Jason knows the other ones.
I mean, it was interesting because it is, and you don't realize that how you think probably the creators who are probably older than the Friends, but they brought in a lot of like Morgan Fairchild plays Chandler's mom, and she was a huge sex symbol in the 70s and 80s, and for her to play that role was perfect. And then like we're just about to get to Tom Selleck, he's about to come on the show, and then I mean Marlo Thomas played Rachel's mom in one episode, and I'm like, oh my gosh, that girl! It was a huge like feminist show in the 70s. So it is really interesting to see those things and then have the conversation about who they are and what they really mean to them. And there are lots of like 70s TV references in the show too.
Which all those jokes when I first started watching just went over my head. So now it's kind of rediscovery as well for me as a big fan. I watch the show, and I say this on the podcast all the time, every night when I go to bed. Every
I have
single
seen her do it.
night. Yes, like because I just can't. I don't know. It just I was camping the other week and I found I had to put it on my phone because it just lulls me to sleep, and it's weird. I don't know. It just happens.
She like knocks out.
I don't think it's that weird actually, and I a lot of people say the same thing, and maybe not about Friends, but like there are certain shows that people like attach themselves to where at a certain point it's kind of like a cozy blanket, and it's like kind of a comfort thing, and you just leave it on in the background, and maybe it's just one thing that we can all control. It's just putting something on that.
That's true.
time
where we've lost control of everything, at least we can just put something on, and that's it.
Yeah, it is cozy blanket, but it's also like when I started watching, I watched it momentarily, like kind of on and off with my sister. It would be on in the room, and I explained this on our podcast too. And so, but I knew it was an older person show, like 1995. 1994. I was 9 years old. So it's like you don't know what she's watching. But it wasn't until I moved to Southern California when I was 20 years old, started watching with my best friend Cassie, that I actually like really, really binge watched it. Before binge watching was a thing, we bought the DVDs. And so that time of rediscovering myself, moving from a small town to a big city, I think that's the nostalgic part for me. And with my best friend, who I've known since I was like 3 and 4 years old. So she's Rachel and I'm Monica, and I've even bought her a mug that says like, "You're the Rachel to my Monica." So I think holding that so dear to me, that's what brings me joy with it, and that's the nostalgic part of it, even though I didn't live it. So that's what the show means to me.
I mean, I find it what I think is part of the appeal for younger people who are in their 20s and 30s is that the challenges that they deal with, and they do address those issues that you have as a young adult, and they do it in a kind of a comic way, and that's universal. I think that's why millennials and even Gen Z, some of those people are into it, because like the issue with when you're young and and you're starting out in your careers, some people are insecure about it, and are they making the right decisions? And especially Rachel, who left her fiance at the altar and decided not to get married because it wasn't the right thing for her. But then she struggles with, did she make the right decision? And then we've all had those friends where some friends make more than other friends, and then if you go out on social events, there's always that kind of awkwardness of if people go to a fancy dinner and and someone orders a crouton or whatever.
Yeah, I agree. Like I agree with you, Jason, that there is something for everyone here, and I don't have the nostalgia that Jackie has as far as like moving from a small town to a big city. But I feel like at least almost every episode, like I have found something that relates to my life, whether it's like the whole, am I doing the right thing with my job? Am I my grandma passing away, like the whole scene where Ross and his mom and aunt are picking out the outfit. Like I recently went through that. Just different things that are happening. It's kind of like it all hits you and it all relates to you, but it also makes you feel good because it brings back sometimes the hardest memories, but also it makes light of it, and it makes you feel better and say, it's okay, life goes on, just continue on.
Yeah. And that grows too. It's like you grow with the show. Like you see they're evolving from the beginning of the show to the end. And then you kind of, like you said, like you see your own evolvement with it, with how you've grown too. And then you meet people when you talk about Friends, and then you create this community of like, oh, who are you? Who are you? Who are you? And so it's like you gain so many more friends from this show because you have conversations, and that's a way to connect. And then you become good friends with them, and then you can keep going and going and going, So it's cool that this kind of show does that. It brings people together, not just for the writing and for the series, but it's also real friends in real life, in your own lives.
Mm-hmm.
For sure. So we all know that Jackie's Monica. Vanessa, which character do you identify most with?
I don't even really know. I feel like sometimes some of the things that Phoebe says sounds like I would say them, but I haven't really figured it out yet.
I know. I think I want to be Phoebe, but I think I'm probably more Ross.
Yeah, I think, Vanessa, you can be a mix of each of them. Like you don't have to be sincerely one. I think you're a mix of each of them.
Okay, so then I think maybe at this point, I have a little bit of Monica because I do have some of that OCD with some things.
Yeah.
Phoebe only because I like to make light of situations. And Rachel, I don't know. I think sometimes I could definitely be stubborn. I think that's something my husband would say. So yeah, there you go.
What do we think Bobby is?
Ooh.
I can't help you there.
We're gonna project this onto you.
Can I be like a minor background character? Can I be the coffee shop?
Yeah, you can be
Gunther.
No, I want to be the actual coffee shop.
Oh,
no, I actually think you're a little bit of a Ross with the Chandler because you're very witty, you're very funny, but you're also.
But he's not as Chandler can be kind of mean.
Yeah, Bobby's not mean.
But he's not mean. He's I would say you are
Say more nice
things. Take it away. I
don't know. Ross and Chandler mix. I think you're definitely Ross and Chandler mix, unless you got some Joey in you that we don't know.
I'll take your word for it. I don't know. Wait, I don't know what that.
I'm just joking.
So another unique thing that this podcast has provided for you, especially for you, Jackie, is because of, I don't know, how we're doing it and what we're doing, you've gotten a chance to talk to some people from the show that maybe you wouldn't have really gotten to talk to otherwise. How's that? And who have you talked to, and what has that whole experience been like?
So I virtually met David Schwimmer, who plays Ross, which was unreal. We have an episode where I go into deep detail how it happened, but it was so crazy. It's just again, the timing of everything is just so crazy to me that it just happens. And I'm still in shock about it. I still can't believe I actually virtually met him. So that was really cool. Morgan Fairchild, we had on. So it's weird. And the day it happened, when afterwards I went home and then I turned on Friends and then I saw his credit and I was like, he knows who I am. It was such a strange feeling. I saw the credit and that feeling right there, I was like, this is weird. When you're looking down, from heaven or something. Not, you don't know, but
I don't know what that
experience. You don't know that, but I mean, this is what I would imagine. Shut up. Okay, this is what I would imagine. When you're looking down at yourself from somewhere, and then you're looking
an out of body experience.
Yes. How is this life? That's what it felt like that moment when I went home after virtually meeting him, and then looking at his thing. I was like, what's going on? What is life? It was just a weird moment, and I'm very, 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 very grateful for it. So it was cool. It's been unreal. The
it
experience.
was kind of like Bobby. It was kind of like when you met Dolly.
That's what I imagined.
Oh,
that's kind of what I imagined. I was, as you were describing it, I was like, oh, I guess that would be kind of the same thing.
Yeah.
It does kind of feel like this weird kismet thing where the timing of everything and just the way you're there's definitely some universe thing at play that led to it. But yeah, That's
it's
really
a
cool.
strange feeling because you're just like, you've admired this person for so long. And then, but you actually like were face to face with her. And I remember cutting that and editing that package. And I enjoyed editing that package.
Oh, yeah.
And that was like 3 years ago, because I was looking at just watching you just like hilariously, and it didn't all fit in the package, but your other reactions and everything like that, I was just laughing all along, and I could just see the joy in your face when you met her. And so
yeah.
I mean, you held it together pretty well, because I don't know how I would be able to hold it together if I met somebody. Well,
you wouldn't be able to hold it in, Jackie.
Yeah.
Well, Bobby, my favorite part of Bobby was when he, at the end, and he turns around and looks at the camera and goes,
Oh my
like,
God.
that just happened.
I wish I think I still have that on my computer or something like that. But you should see the raw of you.
God.
Yeah, it's hilarious. No, you just like keep that on your computer and the raw of you. I was laughing when I was editing that. It was cool.
But you got to be ready. You never know, because once COVID ends and you guys maybe are back in studio able to do this, then maybe you will be face to face with somebody one day.
I don't know. As long as they keep, working and promoting other shows, then I can like tag along, because that's how David Schwimmer happened. He has a new show, Intelligence, on Peacock. And so like, I know Jennifer Aniston last year at the morning show, but Sam did that interview. So, but
I got to see her at the same Dolly Parton.
Oh, that's right.
She was the director.
Was she as stunning in person as she is on TV?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. I mean, I don't have that deep of a connection with.
No.
I mean, not that I have a deep connection with Dolly Parton or anybody else, but like personally. But yeah, she was nice. So just make that your goal, I guess. By that, like, to meet talk to everybody by that time you guys finish the series. Is that
I'm putting that out there, making that my goal, finding a boyfriend, meeting the big six.
maybe your future boyfriend is one of the big six.
No, that would be like Ross or Matthew Perry. No, they're a little. I will go up to 40. I'll go 10 years, so I'll go 44. So they're a little past that. So no.
I think they're well past that.
Yeah. And I don't look at them like that. Like I think Matt LeBlanc is very handsome in the series, but like when I see him now, I'm not like pining after them. I don't have, they're like my friends. I can't look at them in a certain way, and I don't. So, I mean, yeah.
There you go.
They have younger brothers, maybe.
So you guys just finished the first season, right?
Yeah.
Did that go by way faster than you thought? Because it feels like it went by really quick to me.
Really fast. I feel like every time we record, it goes by very fast, because I think we just all have stuff to talk about and we all get excited about it. And it goes fast.
Okay, so here's a little tidbit. So we've been doing the news director's office. It'll be 2 years next month. And this is episode number 173.
Yeah.
So we have 286 plus episodes of Friends with Friends to do. So we have quite a task ahead of us.
Yeah.
An exciting task.
It is.
And remember,
we've had some.
We were doing 2 episodes a week for a long while. So even.
Oh yeah.
And then you guys are gonna have to do some work with the Friends with Friends. Yeah.
Well, that's why we drop Tuesday, Thursdays, and Saturdays. But like also our episodes are like only like 25 to 30 minutes as well. So it's an easy take in. Like you see the show, you can watch the show, and then listen to our podcast afterwards. And then maybe go back and watch it again to be like, oh yeah, there's that point they were talking about. So there's several ways that the audience can take this in, And
I mean, for me, I think watching it for me first works best, because I've never seen any of the episodes, and then talking about it, or in everyone else's case, listening to the podcast, would be beneficial, because there's a lot of tidbits or little facts that you didn't realize when you were watching.
But we've had some interesting guest friends too. We had a guy who is now making money off of his friend's Instagram page.
Is this the same guy that had like the bar mitzvah or something, or is this a different person?
It's a different person.
Oh, that's 2 different guys. So the 13-year-old boy had a friend's themed bar mitzvah virtually, and that went viral on Facebook. So he was really fun. He's 13. He's a huge Friends fan. He's seen them all 7 times. And then this other, coincidentally, they're both English, which I think is interesting. Has like 200,000 followers on his friend's themed Instagram page, and now he's like doing product endorsements and selling things on it. So he's actually making money off of his obsession with Friends. So that's kind of cool.
Wow.
And then we had Morgan Fairchild on, she was really fun and interesting to talk about Friends, but just kind of everything else she's done. She's a pretty amazing person. She's an infectious disease expert, knows all about COVID-19.
You guys also had Caesar on, right? Megan's husband.
Megan Tells' husband. Yeah. Not to be confused with Vanessa's husband.
Two Caesars.
Yeah, so Caesar's a huge Friends fan. We found that out, and then he has Megan admits that he has a huge crush on Rachel. So he joined us for an episode, and that was fun to get his perspective on it. And Sam Rubin joined us, and Dana Devins joined us because they covered it during the 90s, and they've met some of them. So it was nice to hear their perspectives and about covering them and that kind of the behind the scenes stuff.
So I have a question about Caesar. Is he a Friends fan, like independently of Megan? Like, is Megan a Friends fan too, or like just Caesar is like a big Friends fan?
Caesar was a big Friends fan. He said he used to watch it with his mom after school. They would watch it, and so he's seen all the episodes, and that's how he got a crush on Rachel. I think he's got a crush on Rachel, not Jennifer Aniston.
Oh,
I feel like a lot of people that we've interviewed, especially like, the kid who had the bar mitzvah and the one who's making money off of Instagram now, I feel like a lot of people watch it or discover it through their parents. And now it's like they've become fans of the show. And then also when we started our Instagram, I started noticing, other accounts, and it's worldwide. Like, people love this show. Like, there's accounts from Spain, there's accounts from Portugal, there's accounts from Brazil. There's even accounts where people list where they can find Monica's outfits or Rachel's outfits. They want to recreate those outfits. So they find an outfit and they do their own search and they link where they got the outfit to, mimic Rachel's outfit.
Because it's so in style right now, like the 90s have come back. So that's cool. I didn't know that.
Do you know if, like, in other countries, like you mentioned, do they have Friends and like just dub it, or do they have like a redone version, like with, in Spain, like Spanish actors, and it's like a kind of like how we did with The Office. It was a UK show and then they remade it in the US. Are the other Friends shows?
I don't think there are any remakes.
I don't think so. A lot
there's no remakes.
Yeah, a lot of the posts I'm seeing are
just dubbed.
Yeah.
Maybe that's also adds to why a lot of those actors became like worldwide superstars. I guess, I don't know. Do they call it?
And also why they're still getting $20 million a year.
Right.
Amigos.
The residuals on that show must be insane.
I still want to know how much the monkey's making, though.
Yeah, the residuals on the show are right.
Okay, is
one
that
of our recent guests who is actually?
I was gonna just ask if the monkey is actually the monkey, or is it like the monkey, like how Shamu is still Shamu?
Oh no, it's one monkey.
The monkey is still alive.
Jackie actually meant the monkey.
So the monkey. Yeah, I met the monkey. So when I went to the pop-up in Las Vegas, when Warner Brothers took us out to Vegas, they had Katie or Kate, she was the monkey, and they actually had her. So she's 28 years old, still living, and she was part of the pop-up. And so I was able to meet her. She didn't go on my shoulders. I was a little nervous for that. So there's like pictures of me like going like this and waving to her, and leaning over. But she was part of the pop-up and everybody saw her. So it was interesting that she's still there. She's still a star. She's still living, and she's part of it. And so it was cool that they brought her back for the pop-up.
Cool.
The other thing I think is interesting is this: we're taking a critical look at a TV series that lasted for 10 years and was such a popular, such an important part of pop culture and kind of the zeitgeist of the late 90s, early 2000s. So it's really interesting to watch and see the evolution of the characters and of the culture and how that's reflected back into it. I mean, it was one of the first episodes to have a lesbian wedding. So it was, and they've gotten a lot of flack for their lack of racial diversity in the show, and that's been addressed. And Marta Kaufman said that she wished she had done more, and that's for sure. And that was an issue back in the day, though. I mean, I remember when the first show first came out. A friend of mine, a black woman, who says to me, she goes, "You mean to tell me that they live in New York City and they don't have any black friends?"
Yeah.
And I told them, I said, yeah, or Latino friends or gay friends. How do you live in New York and not have that? But so they could have done more on that. But it's also interesting that the fact that the entire cast stayed for the entire 10 years too. Mm-hmm. I mean, most TV shows, somebody leaves to go do something else, or gets fired or whatever. But it's interesting that they all stayed for the entire time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And the diversity thing, like when I was watching, I'm fully aware that they don't have any Latinx or Latinos or anybody on there. So, but it still holds up, and it still doesn't take away from my love for the show, because I relate to it on other levels. But I'm fully aware of how different it is and what they would get away with then that they will not get away with now.
Yeah, for sure. Mm-hmm. All right. Well, so listeners, I hope you learned a lot about Friends with Friends and Jackie and Vanessa. Jackie, how long have you been working at the station now?
I've been here for 8 years.
And you started as
an intern, like Vanessa and Bobby did. I started.
My whole intern's done good. We should talk about that. What's the importance of internships? Listeners, if you're in college, get an internship, because it leads to a job. I got a job for it. So did the three of them, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And treat people with kindness. You want people to know that when they work with you, they're not going to be working like, oh, we worked with Jackie. No, you want to be like, oh yeah, Jackie, she's great. You want to treat people with kindness. They will remember how you made them feel. So that's the importance of internships and kindness.
And just saying yes, wanting to do more, wanting to learn more, wanting to be proactive, take on new responsibilities, learn things, right? All three of you are very, inquisitive and wanted to learn more and wanted to help and wanted to do all that. And that's really the key to your success.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because we have people to look up to, like you.
Yeah.
That's another way. That's another way to stay on board.
Be nice to the boss.
Right.
Wait, did we get into Dolly Parton facts?
Oh yeah, you got a Dolly Parton.
You have one?
No, I thought Bobby always has them.
I do, but I've ran out.
Oh.
You got nothing new?
I got nothing. I mean, I haven't done any research. I haven't done any.
I mean, she was never on the thread, right? I wonder if there were any Dolly Parton songs were ever on.
Oh, she was.
There probably were. But I would guess that there probably are, possibly, because I notice in The Office, which is another like NBC Universal show, they have Dolly Parton playing like all the time. I like pick it out. It's like very subtle, like in certain episodes where they're like having a party or something. I'll hear Dolly Parton songs in the background. So they must have like the rights and just like put it in whenever they can.
That's interesting. I didn't know that. That's a good Friends fact.
Yeah.
That's cool. Well, Bobby, I have a question for you then.
Okay.
Since we've become part of this Friends with Friends universe and all that, are you going to start watching? No,
He says no.
Doubt it.
Are you going to listen to our podcast about Friends?
Yes, that sure. I will listen.
Okay. Sure. No, he doesn't. Sure. No, he doesn't. He's just like, okay. So I will argue with this because I have never seen The Office. Mm-hmm. And so I know
watch it.
You're a big Office fan. So I don't watch The Office because I hold a special place in my heart for the 30-minute comedy for Friends. And so unless I watch it with somebody, then I'll do it. But is that the reason why you don't watch Friends?
No.
Okay.
I've seen a few of the first few episodes, like from the first season, and it was fine. It just wasn't for me, I think.
You're more sarcastic?
Bobby.
Because he's more.
No, I don't know. I don't know.
So here's the thing.
No reason. Just kidding.
I probably saw a few, like one episode, or I tried watching it a long time ago, or when Jackie was falling asleep to it. We went to a friend's house, or her sister's house.
My sister's house, yeah.
And I spent the night there, and I just couldn't get into it either. I was like, not for me. Maybe because I didn't watch it from the beginning, but now that I watched it from the beginning, it's very good and it relates. And I also recently finished The Office. I met John Krasinski a long time ago, but it didn't relate. And now that I'm watching The Office, I'm like, John Krasinski, like I met him before. So I think you need to give it a chance.
I'll chew on it. I will digest it, and
what else
pray about it, and then we'll see.
Quarantine, Bobby says.
So I was resistant to Breaking Bad for years because for some reason I didn't watch it. I couldn't get into it. And then I started watching it and I really liked it. So I think this binging of TV is a really interesting way of consuming, series that have gone on over years.
Mm-hmm.
The other series that I've binged, and this shows my age, is the Mary Tyler Moore Show, which is fantastic. You should watch it. It's so good. And it's about TV newsroom too, which makes it even better. But what I would say people, our listeners, that what I've really learned from doing this is, dive into a project. Follow something that's interesting to you, or even tangentially interested to you. Dive in, because you're going to learn something about yourself. You're going to learn something about the culture. You're going to learn something about other, your colleagues and your co-hosts. And one of the things I love about doing the news director's office is just talking to people and getting to know people. And that's really is part of it too, with some of the guests that we've had on and getting to know Jackie and Vanessa even better. And, Bobby, I love that about you and we barely knew each other when we started this 2 years ago, and now you're like my little brother.
I've slow fed you so much weird random information. That's always fun too. Like what? You have a twin, or what? You used to do Disneyland? That's always
There's always a little reveal. Bobby's an onion, that's for sure.
Yeah.
You got layers.
Yeah. He peeled a big layer on Instagram recently.
What else are you doing in quarantine?
All right, so season 2 of the podcast is coming out.
Yeah, check out Bobby's Instagram. Sounds like Bobby.
I didn't know you were a twin until this year either. So.
Oh yeah, he dropped the twin bomb on me. He dropped the Disney. They worked at Disneyland, which wasn't that big.
I do that.
I feel like you guys are way behind on the Bobby train.
Well, you and Bobby have different friendship levels than the rest of us. So.
But I don't know why I didn't know this, but he told me that his family's Cuban too, and I talk about living in Miami all the time, and he just dropped this up randomly one day.
Maybe instead of Dolly, you guys should do Bobby facts.
Bobby facts.
Sure.
Okay, what else? All right, Bobby.
I think our favorite one we interviewed was Daisy Fuentes, though, right?
That was a good one. That was the top.
Oh,
that was high up there.
She was lovely too.
Yeah, she was really.
And
cool.
that was pre-COVID, so she was actually sitting 2 feet away.
Oh, Bobby, do you get nervous? Because Jason's been in the business for a while. Do you get nervous with these people? Like, I know Dolly, but Daisy,
Not really, not so much anymore. Maybe here and there every once in a while, but not really. I think once you get in there, you realize that everybody's just a person with their own
I'm with Bobby.
interesting things to talk about.
Yeah.
You're a little starstruck with Daisy, though.
Yeah.
There is an element of that for sure. But I wasn't
yeah, like me with David Schwimmer freaking out. I kept it together for the interview though. So
yeah, that's what you you keep it together.
Yeah, that's cool.
We're all professionals.
Yeah. we have to be.
Yeah.
Oh man.
All right, so Vanessa, give them the spiel.
So if you want to listen to Friends with Friends podcast, subscribe and download wherever you get your podcasts. We're on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify. We also have a very cool Instagram account called Friends with Friends. So give us a follow. We'll give you updates on when our episodes are up and ready for you to listen.
Yeah.
Send us your questions or comments or favorite episodes and all that.
Yes.
Yeah, we'd love to hear from you. Get all these different perspectives about this iconic show. I love it.
Thanks, guys. See you next time.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.